Good late afternoon and evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Christopher Michael Curtis, born on this evening edition of Fire for Liberty to make a point of acceleration and even faster transcendence with the Fire of Liberty of just brand, fashion, ignition to really increase the speed even more. And this is really just for a deliberation of the breakdown of exactly what this form of speech means. Now, ideas are supposed to stem, of course, from the seeds. You know, there's branches and roots and leaves, etc. Now, ideas. The purpose of all that creational acceleration is to advance even faster. That means the ideas that come with them. So, I break this down again. This form is form and formlessness at the same time. I am change, I am acceleration, and I am in motion, and I am non-motion. I am recognition, and I am that which is to remind. I am to cause and remind of pace, and I am to remind of steady speed, and I am to remind of the trans-dimensional ability to transport into many different dimensions. I am mixed realities, I am multiple realities, I am time, and I am fluid, I am water. And I am the never-ending seed, never-ending fountain of seeds, with the seeds that are like water, like fire, like creation. And I am pure. I am purity incarnate, I am purity in motion, and I am love, enlightenment in action, and enlightenment in rest. I am constant enlightenment in rest, and I am constant ignition of seeds of light, constant ignition of the awareness of ideas, of brand new ideas, and constant beings of creation. I am anchor. I am centered, and I am that I am. Now, what's important to know is creation is it's important to put out the type of accelerated mentality. And what I mean by that is the ideas. So, creations. Peach tree, orange tree, apple tree. Okay, now, blue peach tree, red and orange and yellow and pink, purple peach tree, rainbow fruit tree, tan fruit tree, square fruit, triangle fruit. Manifestations of creation, as in we can make and create creation, plants. That was absolutely simple. And that's what I mean by I am change. Not just, let me put it this way. For the fluid change of all creation. I'll continue on. And I'm being specific while also trying to be broad, because that is the acceleration, because I am acceleration. All right. Pegasus fruit, Pegasus House restaurant, cloud restaurants, cloud isles, cloud castles, sky mountains, mirrors, mirror waters, mirror pools, pool, ocean, midair, pools, midair, oceans, midair seas, midair lounging, relaxing massage, transcendental massage, multi-layered massage, multi-dimensional transportation, multi-dimensional access, multi-dimensional thoughts and mind. multidimensional fruit, vegetables. Different uses for fruits, vegetables, different forms of ingestion of the creation of the forms of sustenance and of the forms of housing, living. Now, okay, end quote. To reiterate, another important facet of acceleration is almost everything, actually, pretty much everything is based off of gravity. Everything is on the ground or hanging or swinging or everything without gravity, alright? So that, of course, changes. Okay. Changes housing, changes recreation, forms of recreation, ways to recreation. For example, Ender's Game. Very, very, very simple foundation. What could it be expressed and evolved into? There's no limit. Cloud-shaped structures, cloud-shaped entities, or cloud-shaped foundations, organizations, places, stuff like that. Planets, the manifestation and creation of planets. Different planets with different scenarios, different scenes, different land, different life, different forms of diversity, different things that can be created on a planet that we can create. This is, of course, the universe. We can create planets. And this is, of course, what's also unique, of course, is the form of coconuts. For example, coconuts. Water are in coconuts. It's inside of it. Or you can take a straw and put it and drink. Same thing with no gravity manifestations. You can form and then manifest. What's interesting about this this episode of Fire for Liberty is not just to be honest, I wanted to do, well, I wanted to do the entire week without a single episode. However, it's, of course, there's the fast acceleration because there's not only the specifics going on, but there's now the like the kind of sort of the, which is incredibly quick, but the accelerated walkthrough of the pace of, for example, transformation and ultimately transcendence. So that applies to let's go to the limitlessness, just a smidgen of the limitlessness of what pertains to transportation. Now we got one of the most basic, simple forms of transportation, which is elevated and, of course, more advanced, and which is what is in use and should be in use, which is the, let's just call it a cigar-shaped spacecraft, and the many different forms of transportation that comes from those. And of course that allows for different forms of transportation, housing, those that to come and go to and from. And of course, if you know what I'm talking about, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Our Solar Warden has tons of them, but that's just, anyway. That can be created, of course, manifested, and of course, therefore, many different things can stem from it. Restaurants to housing, quote, industries, unquote. And let me digress into industry really quickly. This is changing so rapidly. It is not necessarily an industry anymore. This is not only going beyond all of that, progress that's already been made with all the peace and the love and creation and unity, but to step into that transcendence of spiritual super beings that are celestial, of course. That is incredibly key. And that's just needs to be constantly recognized. Well, not constantly recognized. It should actually be constantly recognized. You know, you're celestial, you're celestial, you're celestial, you're celestial, you're celestial, you're celestial, you're celestial. Because, I mean, that's just how you get into the subconscious. And then from there, you just opening up the mind and opening up the door doesn't even begin to express just how powerful. It's just like you can just kind of settle and relax into that because it's true, you know. Celestial, you're celestial, you're celestial, you're a creator, you're a super being, you're superhuman. Because it's all true. And then, okay, so industry changes, of course. And what it means is that the rate of creation and expansion is going to be a whole other level of industry and a whole other level of revolution. It's nothing like the iron or wood or coal or steel revolution or industrial revolution or agricultural revolution. Nothing like this. Everything like this, but of course, advanced that next level, of course. Very key thing is also the advancement of more reiteration on transportation now. It doesn't need wheels. It doesn't need a turbine. It doesn't need propellers. It doesn't need an engine. It doesn't need gasoline, doesn't need lights, doesn't need electricity, doesn't need oil, doesn't need natural gas, doesn't need wind, doesn't need coal, doesn't need batteries, alright? The number of things I just listed, multiply those by 20 million, and then, for example, combine it with every form of life form, like a rock or a twig or a tree or a caterpillar or an ant, or that's the different types of. And what I mean by that is rock crystal, which is very, very common. Crystal generators or crystal run things, crystal run hover devices, hovercraft, hover ships, hover planes, hover fields, hover spheres, hover diamonds, hover crystals, hover triangles, anti-gravity ships, diamonds, crystals, triangles, dodecahedrons, geometric shapes, pyramids, etc. Crystals. Powered by crystals. Crystals that emit energy. Energy is a lot of energy. Limitless. Anti-gravity, many different types of plasma, or propulsion, or field manipulation, or just plain old regular ether, and or telekinesis. It's that's transportation. So that was a smidgen of that. Food, I already went over. Once again, very clear. Could be done anything. And it's, of course, universal. But I do need to reiterate on this, of course. And so to give descriptions of which, of course, is the size, which needs to be reiterated again. Size, at least 20 times, or 10 times, 5 times. Maybe some of the roots can vary, but still, they should be 5, at least 5 times. That's normal. So the natural girl. 5 foot bananas, plantains, apples the size of soccer balls, peaches, apples, pomegranates the size of soccer balls. Carrots, legumes, cauliflowers, vegetables, potatoes, the size of chairs. 4 foot, 5 foot grape clusters. 4 foot, 5 foot squash. 10 foot diameters of pumpkins. Eggplants. The art of involving motion and all that. So all of that creation ability, for example, past, present, and future, is with the action that goes with it, which is a celestial action, which is super action. Now, that flow is the not only understanding of the transcendental nature of of increased potential. See what I did? Increased potential, not just realization and recognition. Increased potential is to make sure that we, of course, harness our own force, for example, like using the force, or our own telepathic telekinesis, or psychic abilities, or superhuman abilities. What's also key is that it's so necessary, so necessary, that remember that there are so many different naturally enhancing ways for the body, and natural ways of human enhancing the bodies. And that list is limitlessness. It is limitlessness, and it's limitless. So it's both. So it's not only how our unlimited nature ingests, but how that which is in unlimited nature, like divine nature, like trees, plants, etc., is unlimitedness. Now, meaning the sustenance that's in broccoli provides sustenance to the nervous system, which is broccoli. Now, I mean that clearly as in what's exactly what it is, because trees. Just like the explanation of the Gita, I really don't want to go into detail about this. This is a thought form that I want to crystallize real quickly. So I'm going to say that what was the previous one, which is the Gita, and the mirrored nature of the spiritual nature with the tree nature, I talked about in the last episode, which was a very good explanation, and the broccoli, which is from the earth as well. And then that healing combines with unlimited nature. So whatever sustenance, and then whatever type of imagination you want to put into that thought form, which is positive or creative or manifestable or transcendent or accelerated, that thought form is there. So those words, of course, become super enhanced. That needs to be recognized. Not needs to be recognized because it's already recognized, but it's continually known. It is obvious that I do need to do an episode every single day, so I will. Or in addition, I should call it that, or I should give it a proper name. I usually say addition, like edition of Fire of Liberty, which is true, but it's more also like both. Broadcast. So it's a broadcast. It's a broadcast. It's an edition. It's an episode. It's also a space-time thing. It's a unit of creation. with that. Like a unit of clarity, a unit of crystallization, which is just a limitless amount of energy and creation and wisdom. Condensed into creation. Because what happened basically in the past 20 minutes was Renaissance on 12 different dimensions. Like with transportation, with enhancement, with deliberation, with acceleration, with cohesion, and with light and love and unity, and with transcendence, and with the recognition and understanding and clarity of character, and it's honestly 70. I was going to say 70,000. Probably like 70,000 to 80,000. And it's actually, of course, that number is always increasing, expanding. But it's 70 to 80,000 years of progress in 20 minutes. Well, 22 minutes. In 20 minutes. Honestly, in 10 minutes. It's about 30,000 years of progress every 10 minutes. And that perception of time is a perception of time. So, the acceleration is, of course, key to that. This is not just this is the same form of transportation of something that breaks down. Because what a vehicle is something that does not last 1,000 years. However, that continued it's the same lame thing that not lame thing, quite the opposite of lame. It's the same beneficial thing, which it's of course understanding the paradigm that my eyes. Excuse me. That I'm just gonna say it, that money can't buy, because first of all, and this is some of the basic forms of transcendence, which is just common knowledge, which is just common nature, because it's common nature. If you have anti-gravity forms of propulsion, you don't need wheels. You don't need wheels on a car. You don't need jets, or you don't need jet turbines or jet engines on a plane when you have an anti-gravity oscillator or creator or propulsion system. You don't need a locomotive, or you don't need steam when you have an anti-gravity propulsion device on a train. You don't need old-fashioned forms of roofing, of housing, of materials that are water repellent to protect an establishment from weather. When there's forms of physics and advanced technology, not necessarily that's about the technology, but even just spiritual natures that allow actual things to be, for example, held in place or changed or manifested or moved, such as the weather. And once again, fascinating is, of course, one of the things is that change, I am transformation, also a very steady meaning that 600, 700 years of, or actually, excuse me, 100,000s of years of advancement, or 100,000 of years of progress in 30 minutes is just key, it's just normal, and it's just natural. And that's what ultimately is in an awakened humanity, as like present tense. At the same time, it's just how it's always been, long story short. I mean, it's creation. It's, planets are made, solar systems are made, stars are built, developed, created, energy exudes, radiates, and things move. So this is a massive amount of change, of course, in a short amount of time, and it's only going to get faster, so I'm obviously not going to slow down, so whatever. We need to move on. In a very positive. That's me politely moving, just moving on. I mean, goodness gracious. It's a very, very epic time. And I'm going to make more leaps and more leaps and more leaps. And creation shall happen ever faster. With the thought forms. And with the new thought forms. And with the steady ones. As in, let's give an example of a thought form. And this is like for example, let's give a slightly complicated thought form for one that's known. I don't really want to give one that has to go through space and time, but a thought form is, for example, transportation from one part, for example, of a country to the other part of the country. That thought form, that process of eating, sleeping, driving, traveling, expanding energy, taking energy, all that stuff, connections, etc., is a thought form. Now, another thought form is, for example, the process of when ideas, thoughts, creations mesh and, of course, are layered upon each other, and, for example, so on, and, for example, it just happens, for example, to appear in deja vu or in external reality. Of course, that's like a motion of the connection of the setting. Of course, that's common and one thought form. Thought forms are more frequent, just recognized and positive, and of course, there's always acceleration. This is your host, Christopher Malcolm on this evening edition of Fire for Liberty. Continuing Transcendence as steady and as, of course, super fast, super luminous embodiment of light and just incredibly fast acceleration. With or without the broadcast, the of course, obviously, the acceleration happens. So that's what is very key. Obviously, this acceleration has been happening with or without the broadcast. Sorry, never mind. What I mean by mind is, of course, ever expansive and unlimited. It is not just intelligent, but superluminous, so superluminous that it is, of course, the state of constant, one, a sort of self-maturity, two, just never-ending expansion of the recognition of all the creative thought forms, for example. Of all of a thought form. This is an accelerated course acceleration which happens constantly and is not necessarily having to do with the previous, as in not having to do with, but also is a part of the physical forms of our current and I mean this in the most positive way, but our current type 0 civilizations, tools and vessels, like cars and trains and gasoline and natural gas and coal and electricity. As I've said many times in many different broadcasts for a very, very long time now. So, positive, accelerated advancement. Thankfully, we've, once again, which is a very grand thing, have gone through a huge 100,000-year leap in a short period of time. And of course, it's accelerating and happening throughout the day. And once again, that's 200,000 years of progress per day. And that rate's accelerating too. If I had to put it in a chronological perspective. So that's very good. Spiritual enlightenment and evolution is good. Positively, and the connectivity is enhancing, and this is being witnessed, or this is visible around the world, so that's very, very good. Recognition and very important conclusion. We are incredibly powerful, very, 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 very powerful, incredibly powerful, super powerful. Incredibly. We are unified. Alright. This is your host, Christopher Malcolm on this evening edition of Fire for Liberty. I love you all.